Strive and Thrive is a collection of discussions featuring guests from various fields, focused on guiding entrepreneurs in creating businesses that excel in every aspect: people, planet, and profit. Throughout the series, you can join us, Romesh and Mike, as we explore relevant topics with our guests which can help businesses thrive.
Romesh and I met while I was supporting a client transform their business, and I needed finance director support and reached out to him and his team. Since then, we've become good friends who share a passion for business and entrepreneurship. If you like today's discussion, then you want to subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Strive and Thrive with today's guest speaker, David King. Dave is the CEO of Lbox Communications, a B2B provider, business to business, of print and marketing solutions. I've had the pleasure of supporting Dave and the Lbox team as their fractional finance director for a number of years. Dave, welcome to the show, and we're really excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Long time coming, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have been talking about this for a while. I've seen firsthand how you've built a brilliant team, culture and business, and I'm really excited about the discussion we're about to have. So welcome again. And could we start off maybe by you kind of giving us a brief summary of how you've got to where you are now?
Yeah, I think it's a fairly well-trodden path. I wasn't great in school, didn't particularly enjoy it. Came out of uni, still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My younger sister had a job in HR at the time, and the office was 5 minutes from my home, walking distance. And I think she got fed up with me around the house and said, come and work here. I then spent 8-9 years in sales there before joining what is now Lbox Comms, where I spent the next 10 years, and the rest is history, as they say.
Very good. But I think we should start off with something you've only very recently revealed to me, and that is, your beginnings as an entrepreneur. I believe you started at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, I hope none of my schoolmates listen to this because they will laugh. But year 7, I used to walk past a bakery on the way to First Platt Secondary School, and they sold off yesterday's donuts and cream cakes for 7p a pop at the time. So I would buy as many as I could with the money that I found in my dad's change jar the night before, take them all in my bag and then sell them in the playground, with the sell being that you didn't have to go and wait in line at the tuck shop. And I think I charged 50p each. So I had a Romesh, you can do the maths for me on the margins, but a nice margin. But it did take a slight turn for the worse. In year 8, I broke my ankle playing football, and I started to eat a lot of the profits, and earned myself the nickname from one very imaginative child of Burger King, which is probably for another time, I think. But I'd love to know if you had any nice childhood nicknames you can share with us.
I think I'll let Mike start with that. Go on, Mike.
I don't know. I don't think I had that level of entrepreneurialism at that age, Dave. I'm trying to think if I did anything like that at school. I think I had the normal paper round. So I think actually you've beaten me there, because the paper round was dreadful. Getting up in the morning, delivering it for what was probably your profit margin on one donut.
It was a great business.
That's a great effort. So Dave, as you've kind of in the last 10 years, you mentioned that you've been at Lbox. You joined as a senior salesperson, didn't you? Can you talk us through your journey from that to become CEO?
Yeah, I think when I joined my previous place of work, which was quite a large corporate, when I left there, one of the board members said to me over a coffee, they said, "Listen, Dave, everyone is responsible for their own motivation." And that really stuck with me at the time. And when I joined the business, it's essentially a lifestyle business. So you really needed to motivate yourself to go on and achieve results within that business, because it wasn't the same as a big corporate structure.
You mentioned lifestyle, Dave. A lot of people talk about the good things of a lifestyle business. What was your view of it as a lifestyle business when you joined?
There is a lot of good things. So you get an awful lot of freedom, awful lot of flexibility. But I think as humans, or I am anyway, certainly quite target orientated. I like goals. I like things to work towards or things to achieve. And in a business like that, you have to set your own mini goals and your own objectives and hold yourself accountable. So that phrase of everyone being responsible for their own motivation really stuck with me during that period of time. And I still remember on the day that I left my previous role, had a big leaving party. I woke up the next morning with a massive hangover, and Siobhan, my wife, woke me up and she said, "Dave, I think I'm pregnant." And I was like, okay. So I had no other option, right? And when you've got no other option to make it work, that really motivates you to do things.
Wow. Yeah. So you had a lot going on. Gosh, I mean, family surprises aside, what kind of made you think that LBox had the potential for you to kind of build upon and thrive?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, it was almost a bit like a free hit. It was the best of both worlds. So I joined with some share options and other bits and pieces and still got a salary. So I got to essentially run my own business without having to start completely from scratch. And that's a really nice, luxurious position to be in. And I was really lucky to have that. So there was that element to it. And then the clients that they had, the business was really small, but they had some huge clients like Transport for London and I don't know, Kia and all these FTSE 100 construction companies. So I just felt that they must be doing something right, and that I could build on that foundation to create something.
And
Brilliant. And
what was your vision, Dave, to move it from what you describe as a lifestyle business to what it is now? Because I think obviously you've had a big influence in that role. What was it that you saw and where you took it? I know you mentioned to me previously you'd done an MBA and sort of looked at the background of how to run businesses, but what was the kind of journey you personally went on from the sales angle through moving into kind of reorientating the business?
Yeah, I think at the time I was a minority shareholder of the business, and my goal really was to make myself indispensable in that space and do enough that really helped me grow and do more and more within the company. And yeah, doing the MBA, I think with sales, it's not like finance, for example, where you have a certain set of qualifications that you can work through. There's no paper qualification for being good at sales. And even when I'm interviewing people and they say, I overachieved my target by 150%, well, I have no context as to what that market was doing. Was it a really strong market and you just had to turn it was growing so rapidly that you would achieve your number? Was the target too low? On the flip side, someone may have missed their target, but it was a declining market or it was a really hard market, and they might be a better salesperson. So I was looking for something that gave me a better understanding of how to run a business as a whole. And I went to see, there was a chap who I used to play five-a-side with, and every other week he seemed to arrive in a new Porsche. And I was like, I need to understand what this guy is doing. Like, this Porsche this week, this Porsche the next week. I was like, so I went to see him at Lloyd's of London, and he worked in insurance. And he sat with me for an hour, and I'm forever grateful for the time that Gary gave me. And he said, look, I'm looking at you where you are. you're 28 years old, I'd really recommend you go off and do an MBA. And I took that pitch to my then business to sponsor that, and went through that process over the next 18 months or so.
And you kind of credit that with an awful lot to kind of help you set the foundations for success.
Yeah, I think it gave me an insight into all of the different areas of a business and how they function. So what an MBA does do well is it takes you through accounting at a low level, marketing at a low level, product development, IT, all of the different areas that you might experience, and gives you an appreciation at least of what those areas do and the value they add into the business.
Excellent. And was it, I mean, my understanding is it's a pretty big commitment. That must have been really hard to do whilst you were working a full-time job.
Yeah, so it was some Saturdays and some Fridays. So it used to be a Friday, Saturday block, I think. And I went up to Loughborough and did it. Yeah, my wife, we lived in London at the time, and she was out with her friends on a Friday night, and I'd be up in Loughborough, staying in a fairly crummy hotel room, if we're being honest. Yeah, learning about accounting. So it was rock and roll, as you can imagine. I mean, absolutely loved it. But it was really eye-opening. Lots of different types of people, different backgrounds, there for different reasons. So yeah, it's an enjoyable couple of years. And looking back now, with hindsight, one of the best things I ever did. And I'd certainly encourage people to look at it if it was right for them.
You'd obviously taken a sales direction as a career up to that point and beyond until you moved within your current role. What do you think about that foundation in you doing an MBA that gave you the lens on all those other different capabilities? And did it make you realize you became a salesperson bit by accident as much as by design, and that actually there's other areas where you could be really strong in? And how did it help you become a CEO, I guess?
So the first bit of that question, salesperson, completely by accident. And if I'm allowed to be brutally honest with you both, in university, I got into a bit of gambling debt, not a huge amount, but online roulette was out at the time, and I had an egg credit card. Do you remember the green egg credit cards that were around?
Yeah.
And me and a housemate, I think I ended up with about $5,000 on this credit card. And my bar job at £5.50 an hour that I then drunk when I left the bar wasn't going to cut it. So I got a job in a RAC call center, and they put us through 2 weeks of solid sales training before you could speak to anyone on the phone. So that gave me my foundation in uni, and then they had a really great commission scheme. So I was really incentivized to do well in that role. And I was like, oh, I'm earning some money now. I actually had like cash in my pocket. So that's what got me into the sales piece. But you're right, Mike, in what you said is it's a very narrow view of the world. And if you're not careful, your experience of, say, a finance department is, oh, their sales prevention because they don't let me get credit on this account, or they're constantly upsetting my clients, chasing their invoices, or it just gave a bigger picture and a bigger perspective that when I had the opportunity to get involved in other areas, I had some level of understanding to just sit and listen and build upon with the other functions.
Amazing. So Dave, you and I guess, have worked together along with the rest of your excellent team, for, I guess, I'm about 3 or 4 years, and it's been a brilliant journey. And I think you have built a fantastic business with great people and a really good culture, as I mentioned earlier. From your perspective, you've obviously had that grounding with the MBA, you've had other training that you've mentioned, and you've pulled these experiences together. But as a CEO, having got there, what are the key factors that have helped drive this growth and success?
Another great question. I think one of the things that I try to be is to be a sponge and just listen as much of the time as possible. And for a SME like us, we didn't have the budget or the need for a full-time board, if you like. We decided to go down the route of fractional support in various different functions, so finance, HR, and then go to really good legal and accountancy firms and get the best advice that we could. And I found that made my role as CEO much easier almost if I just got out of the way and let the people who knew what they were really talking about lead us in line with where we wanted to go, and take us forward, because I didn't want to be a blocker to our potential success.
Oh, that's a really interesting answer. And I have to say, certainly from my experience working with you, that's been one of the things that has certainly helped me kind of help you, if that makes sense. It really does make a big difference when you are supporting a business externally, as I and my consultants do, if the management team, the leadership that you're working with, are open-minded and willing to listen to new ideas. And I think that's a really, really great skill and attitude to have. And I kind of say skill because I think you have to kind of work at it, because you when you're in a business, you can get kind of very focused on stuff, can't you? But to pull yourself out as you regularly do, I think is really important. Mike, do you're obviously supporting businesses and organizations from an external perspective as well. Do you find that the attitude of leadership, well, it does vary, but how have you kind of interacted with those dynamics?
I think I see a lot of CEO or founders who are running SMEs who are both understand their business so well that they're embedded within it so much that they're coming up to be very strategic. I'm using the strategy word there for what your approach, Dave, but to be very strategic and to think about what is the business, what do we need to do? I understand finance, but it's not my sweet spot. Where do I find the right skill sets? That's a challenge, and I think the ability. We did a podcast about 6 weeks ago now, I can't remember, when we talked about being on the business, not in the business, and how founders, CEOs find that balance so difficult.
Oh, I think Mike's frozen there for a second. So, Dave, can you hear me? Okay.
I can, yeah, carry on.
Okay, so we'll carry on there. But so one of the things I've noticed and observed with working with you and the team, Dave, is how much you've kind of embraced technology. That's something that you're really passionate about, but I think you do it really effectively as well. We'll come back to Mike's point in a second, but can you tell us a little bit how you've used that focus to help drive the business forwards?
Yeah, I think firstly, I'm very lucky that I have two very capable senior managers who can oversee a lot of the day-to-day running of our business. And then when you can do that, it's still a fight, but you can take a step back and then look at how systems and people and processes and suppliers are interacting. And then look at how you can use technology to then smooth that process to not only make the experience better for customers, but also for all of your internal stakeholders, for your suppliers even, and everyone that interacts with your business. The smoother you make it, I think the more enjoyable you are to work with as a customer, the more enjoyable you are to buy from as a supplier, and the higher staff retention I think you can achieve, because people are spending less time on those mundane fixing systems, putting information in system A that's also got going system B. And that's something we've tried to embrace through technology to smooth that process.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's not technology for technology's sake. You're using it to make the customer experience better. I think that's the key. It's it's the overarching objective, right? And I also love that you've given a shout out to Daria and Jason there, as well as
I
the rest
thought
of the wider
they
team.
they may listen, right? So I probably should include them. What you said is absolutely true. It's like, what's the problem we're trying to fix, rather than, oh, we've got AI over here and it does loads of amazing things. How can I force it into my business? And going back to what we were saying slightly earlier, and for you, Mike, is I still think we have a gap in our business around getting really great technical support in at a high fractional level. And I really want to try and embrace that and find the right people to come and push us forward on that journey.
Yeah, I think I apologize, I dropped out a minute ago. I think it's a really difficult space at the moment because companies are having pressure to include AI because that's what everyone must do. I think people need to understand what it can offer and what the opportunity is and begin to build it for their own value proposition. That maybe companies will be disrupted. We had a marketing conversation about exactly that, or maybe it can complement and improve the service you provide, or maybe it can create efficiencies. You got to find the angle for you as a business. And that doesn't just apply to AI. That's technology, right? It's whatever solutions are needed to keep evolving your business into the future. Do you see your value proposition within Lbox needing to having to evolve as the market evolves? Do you see the kind of external market moving all the time, and you've got to always be thinking about what your next product play is?
I guess that's the bit where I should be spending most of my time, right? And it's a constant battle to do that and make sure you're always living on the product development and diversification side of the business and looking forward as to what else is coming. I think to your point, there's so much information and so much buzz around AI at the moment, but so little knowledge.
Yeah.
And especially within small businesses, it's really hard to stay not even remotely near or not ahead of the game. You can't even get remotely near to the front of what's actually happening because it's moving at such pace with such a group of businesses that are so well funded that it's really, really difficult for us.
Yeah, it's about how you keep awareness, right? How you keep awareness of what's out there and how you mitigate risks so you're not blindsided by a competitor while at the same time stay advanced of what your customers might need.
And that's really hard, as you say, Dave, but actually, you've been really proactive in that. I think, you've been, we've had discussions about various solutions for various areas of the business, and you are very clued up. I try and give you a few tidbits here and there, but you are, very much working hard to be ahead of the game. But it's hard, isn't it? The pace, the very pace of it is hard to kind of keep up with. But something you mentioned just now, it's a key word that you use quite often: mundane. Another word that you use often as well is elimination or eliminate. And I you love to eliminate the mundane, and I think it's a brilliant kind of motivation for you and for your team. You've got this passion, and you place a big kind of value of the time that your team spends doing various tasks. Can you tell us more about that concept and why it excites you and what opportunity you see there?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is the understanding of time. And I think we need to think of it more in the way that we do with investment. So if you've got 10 minutes of time, that's the actual cost of the time. You've got the 10 minutes of opportunity cost, so what else you could be doing with that time. But over 5 years or 40 years, that's going to be a lot of time that you're spending doing the same task if you've got to do that every day. So if we put it into finance terms, you've got your £5 cup of coffee as it is in London or the Southeast now. That's your actual cost. You've got your opportunity cost of what you could have taken that £5 and used that on. And then you've got your hidden cost, of that £5, which is what it would have been worth if you went and put it in an index fund or anything else and took it out in 40 years, which broadly speaking is going to be about 450 quid. And I think if we can apply that same concept to time, we can begin to multiply people's time within the workplace, and make them not only a lot more efficient, but give them more headspace to do even more in that area. And it will start to snowball over a period of time, weeks, months, as you start to move through and eliminate these tasks.
Brilliant.
And
You're on a mission to do that with the team, right? I think that's such a powerful way to explain it. But sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say we are on a mission to do it. I was really interested in both of your experiences and what you've seen in your various businesses in the past.
You must see a lot, Romesh, right? You must see a lot.
we're both being too polite. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think there's a huge opportunity there, Dave. There's got to be a real will to do it. There's got to be a freeing up of time to look at it and to get everyone in the team to kind of contribute to it, right? Because I think these things are only really successful if you get massive buy-in and you get input from everyone involved in the various tasks or processes. So there's a huge opportunity there, and I think the best businesses try and certainly attempt as best they can to solve for it. But I think the challenge is, what tech do you use? Because that's a vital component of that. And what do you go for first? Because I think there's a lot that you can aim for, isn't there? Mike, do you have a view on that?
I'm still reflecting on Dave's insight, really, because for me, you've talked about time in a really interesting way that I wouldn't normally have framed it like that. As a founder, when I set up Easel, my vision was 50% consulting, and then otherwise I'm going to work on product development and build something. So work for others, support others, and then build something myself. So mine became more of an investment strategy. But what you made me think when you were talking, and sort of as I was reflecting on what Romesh was talking about, I was thinking it's not about necessarily automating the mundane, but it's about ensuring that you optimize your time and you find the time for doing the things where either you've got self-interest or grow the business. Either way, it's both measures, isn't it? You're doing something you prefer doing and it's of more value to yourself and the business in itself. And if that means a way of automating processes in the back end so that you can spend more time product developing, innovating, growing new products, which is my love, or it allows you to do more sales, or it allows you to do more, in Romesh's case, building of spreadsheets. It's kind of it's kind of that ability to reflect on time. And as a founder, what I've found is you can lose days doing back processes in the back end to get your invoices out and do your finances and set up your sales funnels and whatever it is. And you're like, hang on, this isn't where I want to be playing. I want half my time product developing.
Yeah. If I can just say here, what I've really been struck with at LBox in particular, and the way that Dave has driven this and motivated the team, is actually how everyone has bought into it and has started to really see the value in it. Yeah. So, I think you're onto a winner when you start getting people at all levels kind of saying, hey guys, hand up here. How about this? Why don't we eliminate this? And challenging. And I think that's that for me. We, sat in a meeting, a senior management meeting recently. We had a really good example of that, and I just wanted to applaud. It was absolutely brilliant result there.
From building on your point, Romesh, I think when prioritizing where to go, the key thing is to consider significance, which is how long will this be an issue for? So in Mike's example, if Mike doesn't fix his invoice out now, then in 5 years' time, all being well, he's still going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So if he can fix it now, he can fix it forever. And we use that word eliminate, and you talked about technology, Romesh, as well. Elimination is the most powerful first step you have to take. So why am I doing this activity in the first place? Is anyone reading that report? Is it adding any value to anyone? And we had loads of examples where we could stop doing things and there was no impact. It made no difference to the business. And that's the most powerful thing before you even have to look at technology and automation, or delegating tasks.
My takeaway from Romesh, but my takeaway from the way you explained it, Romesh, and the way you've talked about it, Dave, is that you've somehow empowered your team to take on an elimination strategy, or whatever you've called it. How have you done that? Because that's quite inspirational in terms of getting people to really think about where the value sits in what they're doing, and trying to identify a way of improving it.
Yeah, so our approach was to build on a couple of ready-made models. And then we stopped the business for 4 or 5 hours in a morning, broke the teams up into groups, because I don't know what they spend their time on, right? I'm up on over here. I don't know what they're doing, or where they feel like they're wasting time, or what's efficient.
You're sitting in your ivory tower, Dave, right?
I'm in my ivory tower, smoking cigars with you guys, and so it's almost not for me to decide, or it wasn't for me to decide. So it was for them to identify where they felt that they were wasting their time or doing things that didn't add value. And we had literally hundreds of ideas come out of that session that we're still working through now, based on the significance calculation of how much time they're going to save our business. And we were able to achieve 44 days saving a month within 3 months running that session. And as part of the reward for that, we gave everyone an additional day's holiday, so they could go and use that to do whatever they wanted.
I think that's the power of what you've done. You've got people to buy, and you've got people to see the benefit immediately. It's because you've done stuff that people can experience for themselves, see that, and it's what's motivated them to now contribute and think along the same lines. Sorry, Mike, you're going to say something.
No, I think it's the inspiration of getting everybody influenced on it. We talk a lot about operational performance and getting organizations to view their finances and be on top of the numbers and look at efficiencies, because where does profitability come from? Yes, that side of things. Growth comes from sales and new product development, but actually getting on top of your operations, getting on top of what you do. And I like your approach of kind of really trying to tease out what are those things we don't need to be doing anymore, what are those things we can create more efficiently, so that we can go and do the things that where the value sit.
Yeah, building on that, Mike, I mean, how many board meetings have you sat in the past, either of you, where you go through the numbers with a fine tooth comb of every different area of the business? How many of those meetings have you sat in and had the senior leadership team sit there and go, where are our staff spending their time? What are they doing? Do we actually know? Would a big business ever not set a budget? Of course not.
Yeah. So, and it makes so much sense, doesn't it? Because ultimately businesses just grow kind of organically, don't they? And things just evolve, and sometimes you don't have a clear set of tracks in terms of developing the process. It just happens as the activity changes. So what you're doing is analyzing how has it evolved, why has it evolved, and then breaking that down. It's fascinating stuff. Mike, have you ever kind of approached things in that way? Do you look at things with that lens?
So I have been trained in lean modeling and sort of process re-engineering, so I understand all of that, and I've worked on really complicated flows and processes that break it down. But what I've not thought about is the way you've articulated it there, both of you, in terms of really getting the organization to think about elimination and process improvement. I've worked in organizations where they say, look, we're going to have a tough quarter, can you find any opportunity to save costs? And that's kind of a different logic in many ways to what you're talking about. What you're really talking about, Dave, is create time, and that indirectly creates a cost benefit. But actually it's the time is where you really see the value, because the time can be converted into something of more use.
Yeah, because a lot of these tasks, from my observation, are tasks that people dislike doing. So you're basically making their lives better, and that's the motivation at every point, right? Yeah.
Well,
Is that
I'm
that's the
sure.
feedback you've had, right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm sure you both have experienced that Sunday night dread in one role or another, right? And it often comes from the thought of, oh, I absolutely have to do that on Monday. So imagine that freedom, that thing you absolutely had to do because it added value is now taken care of by a system or by something else, so that it just happens and you don't have to worry about that anymore. So staff motivation is up, productivity is up, you're more infused to come into the office, you're recruiting less, so your recruitment costs go down. There's lots of hidden benefits here. And of course, if you get the whole business involved, rather than feeling like as the owner or the CEO, you're like, everything's got to come from me, all of the best ideas come from the team. And that's what we've seen. Excluding our portfolio FD, who doesn't give us any good ideas at all. But
one day, Dave. You've talked very much about operations here, Dave, and savings and things like that. Do you apply the same logic, same philosophy for product development and growth and sales?
Yeah, so it's quite easy to do it on your existing business, I would say, because you're in control of that. But with sales, I think there's some base level of approach and activity and automation that you can achieve through various CRM systems, which we've got a wonderful lady called Viv who runs our CRM. And we try to automate as much as possible out of that wherever we can. With sales, there's still a personal touch, of course, with that. But what we've seen is by bringing the changes on our operations, because more things are automated, the error rate is lower because we're all human, right? We all make mistakes. Don't mean to, we're all well-intentioned, but, you know, we didn't have our morning coffee and we make a mistake and then there's an issue for the client. That doesn't happen. So much, not always, touch wood, but it doesn't happen with systems as much.
And what about a strategic view of the market? So obviously you're in an interesting sector that's evolving through technology or not. And what's your view on how you look at the market? Is that your role? Do you cascade that around your organization? Do you get feedback on market trends, customer trends and things like that through your organization?
Yeah, so print is the output of our system is print, and print is in a challenging space, or has been for a long time. It's proving to be really robust as a channel, whether that be for marketing or information, as the digital space has just become a bit saturated. So yeah, we've still got that, but what we're trying to do, and we talked about time management earlier and trying to focus on the right things. That's a lot of what myself and the senior team are trying to do, is look forward as to what else we can do and what else we can invest in. But it's really hard to make sure you stay in your lane and don't interfere back in the core business that you know so well. And that's certainly a battle that I feel every day, to let the guys who know what they're doing just run with things over here.
And do you think it's your role to enable them to be able to do that rather than strategically lead?
I think they know the direction. How they get there needs to be left to them.
Interesting,
in my view. But I don't know what you guys have experienced in past businesses.
I've seen it. I've seen it when you've got to be two angles, right? The employees are very well connected to their customers, and you want to get their insights back into the business to inform what direction you go in. On the other hand, there are moments when there may be disruptive types of ecosystems or strategic changes that require a much more leadership-led approach. Let's use COVID as the extreme example of something truly disruptive hitting the business, or it could be just a competitor suddenly offers a super new product in a super competitive price point. That disrupts you as a business, and that's when you kind of need that leadership role. So for me, there's the strategy and getting the insights from the team, enabling the change that's required.
Yeah, our first step on that was to try and define our purpose. So once you've got your purpose above your at the top, your strategy should link to your purpose. So yeah, a new competitor may come in, or someone else might come into your market. But if you're trying to advance your purpose in as many ways as possible, so I don't know, for you guys is to share your experiences right through this podcast. So that might be the purpose of this, is to share your knowledge with as many people as possible. And podcasting is the medium that you've chosen to do that. So as long as we're advancing our purpose and we stay true to our core values, then I'm relatively comfortable with the noise that happens around the business.
I think that's just a critical point, actually, because once you have that kind of guiding light, everything else kind of falls into place, doesn't it? You bring on board people, you develop people who share that vision and that alignment, and it just kind of answers so many questions on the journey, doesn't it? And helps you make better calls and better prioritizations. Would you say that's been the case, Dave, since you got that clarity?
Yeah, and I think getting the clarity was really hard for me. So I worked with an external coach to do that and take me through that process. It took 6 to 8 months to do. I mean, other people might find that much easier. I'd love to hear what, if you guys have the clarity of FD consultant. Yeah, but it's once you've got that, like you say, it informs the decisions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, the kind of clarity of purpose for the FD consultant actually marries up so nicely with this podcast, with Strive and Thrive. It's to kind of encourage and support growing businesses, entrepreneurship, help leadership teams build better businesses, because I think it's better for everyone. And profit, obviously I'm a finance director, profit's really, really important, but people are just as important, the planet's just as important. So kind of balancing all of that and trying to help in and support in any way I can. And I'm lucky my consultants have share those values as well, and that's what we're trying to kind of focus on. So when Mike and I met and we kind of started talking about this, it was kind of easy, if that made sense. Mike's going to say something completely different now.
Yeah, honestly, Strive and Thrive was nice. I'd say, Dave, I've not worked out what my purpose is, and I'd say I've really struggled to do that. Romesh's routine, he even set up an hour's call and said, Mike, let me help you understand what Easel's about and what you're trying to do. And I'm still juggling that after 4.5 years of the business. It's successful, it's doing well, we've spun out businesses ourselves, but we haven't got there yet. And I do agree with you. I think it's harder than people realize to actually pin it down. It's very easy to say we're going to be the best at this, but what are you really talking about and what you're trying to do is really hard. And actually what I found is people who I've worked with have been better at helping me define where our unique purpose is and why they like working with us and things like that, rather than do it myself. But it's a journey I'm still on.
It's unique and personal, isn't it, to the individual, to the team, to the organization. And I think that's the challenge, I guess. I mean, I make it sound like I've kind of got the answers for me, but it took me some time as well. When I left my full-time job, I took 6 months to think about next steps and think about what and why, and those things were really, really important for me to get right. And I needed to have that clarity before I took next steps.
On the 24 weeks a year holiday that you still have, Romesh, do you still think about that, or do you?
No comment. God, this abuse I'm getting, unbelievable. 24. That's
the trend as well, Dave. Yeah, me too.
Indeed. And Dave, you'll laugh at this. We had a great guest on, Claire Butcher, on one of our recent episodes, and we were kind of wrangling about who'd visited the most countries, actually. So yeah, the travel theme is definitely there, and it's definitely a motivation for me. But yeah, balance, right? Balance. That's what I'd say. Right. Back to business then, and away from my travel. We had a conversation, Dave, where you kind of talked about one of your key motivations kind of being actually the fact that you have a successful sports person in your family. Can you tell us about this and explain how this has helped motivate you?
Yeah, so I'm one of three kids. I've got a younger sister and a brother who's 5 years younger than me, and he was a very good footballer from a young age, and went through various academies, and left home at 16 to pursue that. And as much as I take the mick out of him for having no GCSEs or A levels or a degree, what I saw from him was a level of dedication that I've never seen from anyone else before, a focus and a desire and a willing to train and get better, that was really, really strong. And I think in business, we could learn some of those things from sport, that how much time are we putting into training to get better at what we do every day? Thinking about a sports team, be it rugby or football, they spend maybe 4 days in the week preparing for one 90-minute match or 80-minute match. I don't know if you have any thoughts on those similarities, but certainly for me, I found that quite inspiring.
There's a lot of parallels, aren't there, between sports and business? I recently read about the New Zealand rugby team. Dave, I think I showed you that book, right? And the ethos that team had, and this was the kind of iconic team of 10 or so years ago. And actually how those principles can help business, etc. But yeah, I can totally see the parallels, and there are ways that business can help sport and sport can help business, probably. So it's a two-way thing, I would say. Mike, do you have any views on that?
I mentioned this today. I had an opportunity to interview a lot of ex-professionals. And that was and to talk about their career post being sports. And what you realize is their drive and their understanding for training and how they balance having a bad day and how they work through it and how they see training and teamwork and all those important skills of micro improvements. Is such an important part. And for me, these are things we're talking about in businesses. We've just been talking about it for almost 20 minutes, similar kind of traits of continuous improvement. And I've done a lot of work with the military, similar mindset, lots of training, hard work, team working, focus. And you can see how those skill sets are very, very applicable in an entrepreneurial and CEO environment. And I think being able to recognize that need to work hard, collaborate as a team, I think are super skill sets that people can take forward. I think it's hard for sports people, actually. I don't know how your brother found it, Dave, but they come out having been so focused on one thing, professional footballer, and to suddenly go, right, I'm 30, what do I do now? I think they've got a skill set, no GCSEs, whatever, but actually they've got amazing value in what they've learned in those years that they could orientate into business.
Yeah, and I think some do, don't they? I think it's very difficult when you finish at that age. The likelihood is your friends will have another 30 years of work ahead of them.
Yeah, they've just started.
How are you spending your time?
Yeah, it's a very short, concentrated career, isn't it?
Yeah, and we have a coach at LBox, a chap called Alan Evans, who's fantastic. And if you have a coach in sport for everything, why would you not have a coach in business to help you be the best you can be? If Rory McIlroy needs 3 coaches for his golf and his fitness and his psychology, and he's the best in the world and he wants to get better, why not apply that to our roles within the business environment as well, to try and be the best we can be?
And do you think about that in terms of time as well? You talked a lot about time. Do you really purposefully create time for your teams? And I know you're mentioning and you're going for B Corps, aren't you? And I know within that is a lot around employee experience and time and training. Is that becoming part of your growth agenda for LBox?
Yeah, we've set some targets around number of staff in training, number of hours of training, and one of the team is leading a training project where we're getting people to rate themselves as to how they feel they are in different areas of the business, or different skill sets, so that we can start to address some of those things. And And doing the core work that we're doing allows us more time to be able to do that. And that's all part of the snowball effect of what we've been through.
And are you able to justify that to Romesh on your calls when he's asking for an ROI on training? And
yeah, I mean, what I do, Mike, it's really easy. I just say, well, you're not getting any hours next month, so you're using your budget for it, Romesh.
training.
It's that's the general approach.
I'm straight on the phone to my wife. That trip's cancelled. Then we'll have to.
How much can we take out of the FD consultant budget? Normally funds quite a lot, to be honest. So that's how we do it.
Unbelievable. Gosh, I'm getting hammered here. I can't believe it.
I've really enjoyed this, Mike. We should go for longer just on that topic.
Beat up Romesh. No, I love it. No, this is this has been such a good conversation. And actually, Dave, I have to say there's loads more that we wanted to ask you, because actually, there's a lot in the B Corp side of things. Loads more I'd like to kind of discuss there. We kind of discuss the wider environment quite often as well, and how that impacts business. But we're going to have to save that, I think, for another time. And I'm sure we'll have you on board again, to kind of take us through that. But final question for you. And thank you for sharing all of your insights and experience. It's been absolutely brilliant. What's next for you and the business?
Oh God, big question. I'm trying to figure that out, if I'm being perfectly honest. No,
me getting back at you now, mate. Come on.
Yeah. Well, first thing is we're going to cut all of our external consultants, and then after we've done that,
touche.
No, I'm hugely lucky. I have senior leadership team are very, very capable. So I need to challenge myself to let them get on and do what they do. And for me and the business to live in this product development, diversification space as much of the time as possible, and look to take those things and look at our purpose, say, how do we advance that in other areas? And we do have I think a gap within our business on the technology side, on real senior technology leadership. Would be great to bring in to help us do that. So the next kind of 90 days we'll be looking for someone to do that, hopefully getting our B Corp and moving to the new office space.
Yeah, we didn't touch on B Corp as much as I wanted to, but can you quickly summarize why you're interested in doing it and what the purpose behind that is?
Yeah, so for a small business, it's a really strong framework to guide you, and that was the main reason we brought it in. So you have governance, employees, customers, suppliers, environment and community. So it just gives you different things to target and work towards. And we've been able to use that framework to create a better, in my opinion, better business, more aligned to our values, without the need for then external support.
Great. Really good.
Amazing. And I have to say, it's been I say it's through gritted teeth, given comments in today's discussion, but no, it's been an absolute pleasure kind of supporting you in the business. Actually, it's been through really such an exciting journey, and I know there's a lot more to come for the team and yourself as well. Lots of exciting things planned, so very much looking forward to that. So Dave, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on and being such a brilliant guest. I'd like to thank everyone for listening or watching today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we have. Strive and Thrive is a regular podcast series for entrepreneurs, founders and leaders of SME businesses. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd be super grateful if you could like, follow and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. Our next session will be in a few weeks, and a big thanks finally to Mike and the rest of the Strive and Thrive team. See you all soon. Thank you for listening to Strive and Thrive.